Morning, we'll get started.
Wait just a second.
Get the,
You're good? Okay.
video, et cetera on. I'd like to open the combined special meeting and the regular meetings of the Tulsa Airport Improvement Trust and Tulsa Airport Authority. Thursday, April 11th, 2024. That's Alexis.
All right, I can kick things.
Second, the second agenda is to approve the minutes.
Oh, wait, for the minutes of me, I'm sorry.
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Hi.
Now we go to operations.
All right, so I'll be happy to kick things off. Good morning.
Morning.
So we are coming off a busy month with spring break last month. It was interesting because for this year, Arkansas and Oklahoma had their spring break on the same week. Typically Oklahoma's first and then Arkansas, so we kind of spread out that demand. But all the demand was in 1 week this year. And operationally, our team handled it really well. There weren't significant lines at the checkpoint. I think our big challenge this time was parking. Our parking lot was full, and there were many conversations about when we implement our overflow lot, how we handle the additional demand for valet parked cars. Valet was extremely popular, and we hit the highest revenue week for parking in our history. And so that was exciting, but just a reminder to our team that we need to continue to focus on capacity expansion of our parking facilities. And so Sherry has a meeting with rental car consultants who are going to help guide us through the discussions. Actually, our meeting is internally, but we need to select a consultant that's going to help guide us through discussions to determine what's the best solution that gives us additional capacity while also meeting the needs of our rental car operators, because they're gonna have an opinion about whether or not they're relocated or moved just a little bit further down away from the terminal building so we can gain back those spaces on the second floor of our parking garage. But something that we'll continue to look at and brief you on as we go through that process. We are right in the middle of our budget planning process for fiscal year 25. And so Paul and Burdetta and I have had many discussions along with our directors about what that looks like. You know, there are many needs. And of course, from really decades of deferred maintenance, there are needs that we're having to address, as well as the change in technology in terms of everything going to cloud-based solutions versus hosting technology services on site. And so our budget needs are expanding. It looks like today we're at about a 5.5% increase over last year for our budget. And our capital budget is going to remain about flat, maybe down just a little bit over last year. And that's all in an effort to keep our costs in alignment with airline expectations. While the airlines don't approve our budget per se, they do have opinions and influence, because we know that the more competitive our cost structure is, the more likely we are to retain and grow airline service. And so that's something that we will continue to hash out. We'll be setting up meetings with you all individually to go through the budget prior to the May board meeting. And that way you can offer input and, share with us your priorities and feedback for how you see fiscal year 25 unwinding. I also wanted to brief you about our move to transition our employee base from a differentiated sick time, vacation time accrual for our established employees over to PTO, which we implemented last year for any new hires after January 1st. And so Patty and Paul and I worked together to develop a new accrual schedule and a transition plan to move employees over to the PTO program. And we shared that information with our employees last week and received a lot of feedback from employees. This week on Monday, Patty and Tara and I hosted a forum with employees to get their feedback. And there was, of course, a lot of opinions shared. It's a big change for our employees, especially for our tenured employees. Our leave policy has been extremely generous. We give 12 sick days a year to employees today, along with, I'm not maxed out and I get 4 weeks a year of vacation or 6 weeks a year of vacation, and I'm not maxed out. So it just is extremely generous and really untenable, I think, for the way benefits now are administered by companies, and creates a large liability on our balance sheet. And so we have a solution and that we feel is reasonable. We are revisiting that based on employee feedback to see how we might address some concerns regarding the sick leave conversion over to PTO in particular, because with the vacation leave, we're doing 1-for-1. They're transferring over 1-for-1. It's the sick leave that's causing a little bit of heartburn with our employees. And I just wanted to share that with you to let you know we're working through it. I'll provide an update next month because as part of the conversion, we are going to have to pay out a portion of the accumulated leave to our employees that have higher balances. And because that wasn't a budgeted item, even though we have the funding within the budget to be able to absorb that cost, I still think it's important that we share that with you and you're up to speed on the plan. So I do have a few slides that I wanted to share with you. The Discovery Lab play area ribbon cutting was last month, right after the board meeting. There are a lot of projects underway. You saw it when you drove in with the entrance road project. The new sign, the monument entry sign, is under construction. They tore down the old wall on Monday. We have the employee parking lot under construction. We have the vestibule project that's beginning. At Riverside, we have the taxiway project that's going extremely well. It's going to be done ahead of schedule. The perimeter road project on the air side. We just have a lot of things happening all at once right now, and it's requiring an effort of a small but mighty team of our engineering folks. And I'm excited to say that dirt will officially start turning on the FIS project next week. That is something that we had the ceremonial groundbreaking for in January, and then had to work through some utility design issues that kind of delayed the official groundbreaking, but we'll start seeing some movement there next week. And we're going to provide an update on the tower for a separate agenda item, but that discussion will give you an idea of where we stand with that and the bids that we received. We did participate in Aero Day at the Capitol last week, I believe it was, or maybe it was 2 weeks ago, but Stephanie and Kim were representing us in the with 60 other exhibitors that were there. And then Daniel and Austin went around and met with legislators to talk about initiatives that are important to airports. There were 300 students in attendance. It was just a great event. And then I did want to just mention, we have an event on Earth Day. We actually have several events planned with our team on Earth Day, which is April 22nd. But this one is related to a project that you all approved, I think it was almost 2 years ago, to install EV charging stations in our parking garage. And so this is a partnership that we had with INCOG, who gave us $500,000 to support the project, and PSO, who's provided some in-kind support for the project. And we will have several of the dealers that have EV cars come out and have them on display, demonstrating how they can connect to these systems, and an official press event, just kind of recognizing the steps the airport has taken to support, sustainability and clean initiatives. So April 22nd at 2, you're welcome to join us if you'd like. And with that, I'll turn it over to Bernadetta to give you the financial update.
All right. So we're going to be looking at the month of February 23 to February 24 in the fiscal year. The same periods. Our revenues, we had a really good month of February. They're up 5% for the month and 7% for the year. That's mainly driven by our landing fees, our terminal concession, our interest, CFCs, and our ground transportation is also doing really well. As we added a drop-off or drop-off fee in January, so it's almost doubling the revenue, the monthly revenue for trip charges. Our expenses are also up by 7%. Salaries are up over last year, and our parking management is up because we have more people running the parking lot. Our utilities landscaping, and we've had some repairs for fiscal year 24 that we didn't have in fiscal year 23. This produces an 8% increase in the net for the fiscal year to date, or $1.1 million more than we had at the same period last year. Food, beverage, and retail, they all had a very good February. Food and beverage is, well, they're doing 8 to 10% over where they were last year. Parking activity had a really good February, 4 to 5% over for the activity and the revenue. It's relatively flat for the fiscal year. Can't really, when you're at capacity, you can't really get more cars in the parking lot. So rent-a-cars also had a good February, but they're relatively flat for the fiscal year to date. RDS operations were flat, both for the monthly comparison and the year over year. The flow fees did have a good February, but they're down 4% for the fiscal year to date. In-plane cargo had a really good February for once, 3% over last year, but they are down 8% for the fiscal year to date comparisons. In-plane passengers, 6% growth over February 23 and 5% for the fiscal year to date. And here's our calendar year to date visual of that, and we're actually, for January and February this year to last year, we're 4% greater than where we were. This slide shows our budget to actual. Revenues are up 12% over budget. That's the same reasons as why the actuals are up. It's landed weights, it's rent-a-car, it's interest is about $1 million more than we had planned for. Our expenses are down 6%, which leaves our net at a 44% increase over where we were expecting to be when we prepared the budget, or $4.7 million in a better position. This is our total cash in the bank. At the end of February, we had $89.8 million. And for the AULA agreement formula, that gives us 351 days of cash on hand. Any questions?
Yeah.
Very good. Thank you, Renee. Okay. Now we will go to the rest of the,
Number 4.
yeah.
Oh. Award bid and approve the TAIT parking system management agreement with Last Parking Texas LLC for a 5-year term with 1 5-year option to extend effective July 1, 2024. We had 5 bidders and a selection committee who decided that Last was the best value to the airport. And we look forward to continuing our partnership with Last Parking.
Any questions?
Make a motion to approve, number 4.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Number 4 is approved. Number 5.
Number 5 and number 6. Number 5 is to approve the resolution of TAIT. And number 6 is the resolution of TAA that ratifies, confirms, and approves number 6, or number 5. So the resolution, of course, approves the issuance and sale of a single bond to serve as security and evidence of a $15 million revolving line of credit from BOK FNA, financial capital costs for the air traffic control tower and the federal inspection services facility. The resolution waives competitive bidding and authorizes the delivery and execution of documents necessary to complete the financing, and authorizes BOK FNA as the bond trustee and the paying agent. And finally, it appoints Hawkins, Delafield and Wood as bond counsel, Hilltop Securities as financial advisor, and Jason Coutant as Gable Gottwalls as special counsel to the trustees. And I'll just note that Mike Newman's here to answer any questions we have about that.
I have one question, Jeff. we're issuing a bond which carries interest. Do we have to pay interest on the full bond amount, even though we're not drawing down the 15 million?
Mike, would you like to address that?
Sure. The way it's structured, the bond is issued in the full amount, the full principal amount of the line of credit. Interest is only paid on amounts drawn while outstanding, because the bank has to set aside capital against its commitment to lend. There is a commitment fee, not interest, much lower, paid on the unborrowed. And while Jeff is correct, the resolution asks for a waiver of competitive bidding on the bonds. The trustees should be aware it was a competitive solicitation of the bank to provide a line of credit. A request for proposal was issued to the banks in town, as well as those on the list maintained by the state treasurer. I think it was 5 or 6 proposals were received, but it was a competitive process.
Yeah, and the waiver of competitive bid is a statutory language, so,
And
yeah.
my main concern was the interest,
And
but
there
we're
were
just paying interest on the money we borrow.
correct, and there are no financial covenants in addition to those that are in the indenture of the authority currently.
Very good, thank you.
So if we could have a vote for each one of those, number 5, I don't want to take them together.
All right, any more questions on number 5?
Make a motion to approve item number 5.
Second,
All those in favor?
Aye.
aye,
Aye.
And then number 6,
I move approval for item number 6,
Second.
All those in favor?
aye,
All right, item number 7.
Item number 7, approve TAIT's Title VI program effective March 31st, 2024. The FAA put out new requirements for us to update our Title VI program, and Patty took that on last year to prepare this. It's due July 1st with the FAA. And what this does is ensures non-discrimination practices in accordance with the Civil Rights Act of 1964. One big change to this is added a community engagement plan that requires us to engage with the community to keep them informed on projects so that they can have their input heard. And so we put that together, it's ready to go, and I recommend approval.
Questions, motion?
Comment really won't. I make a motion to approve item 7. Thank you.
second,
All those in favor?
aye,
7 is approved, item 8.
item number 8 is approve amendment number 1 to the memorandum of understanding between TAIT, Tulsa Air and Space Museum, and the city of Tulsa. This approval amends the MOU to change the location of the 138th Fighter Wing Missing Man Monument on TASM lease premises, and requires general liability insurance policy for the installation. With TAIT as additional insured. They're moving the monument from one place on TASM to another
There's
place.
another one here.
Move approval item 6. No, 8. Sorry, put the glasses back on.
second,
All those in favor?
Aye.
aye,
Item 9.
Item 9 is approved capital project agreement between the city of Tulsa and TAIT in the amount of $7 million for the construction of the Tulsa International Airport, excuse me, air traffic control tower project. The air traffic control tower qualifies as an eligible use using the U.S. Department of Treasury's award to the city of Tulsa of American Rescue Plan Act funding of 2021. Basically, when we first started this project, there was different avenues of funding. This happened to be one of them, as well as city or Tulsa County. They both pledged $7 million. And back in November, we brought these Tulsa County to you for approval, and now we're bringing city of Tulsa to you.
So they're going to be reimbursed by the feds on that.
Yes, this funding is coming from ARPA.
Yeah.
Or the American Rescue Plan Act
from the feds to the state, to the city,
to us, yes.
so.
Since they're getting reimbursed this time, can we get them for another 7 million?
There you go.
I like the way you think, Ken. I would say though that, the city has been a strong partner with us, and they actually approached us about participating in this project. And then got the county engaged, and so the mayor has been very supportive of that effort. This just formalizes that $7 million commitment. Now that we're to the point where we received bids, we haven't really talked about that, but bids did come in. Flintco was the lowest responsible bidder. We are in the process of doing the things we have to do under federal guidance related to verification of DBE requirements and things like that. But we hope to bring to you all in May an award for the construction contract. There are several other things that have to fall in place in order for us to do that. One is the FAA has to release their funding. The $40 million appropriation in fiscal year 22's budget that they have had has not yet been released through our memorandum of agreement, but we have been assured that it will be. And we're holding our breath, aren't we, Frank?
Absolutely.
But the other thing that we've really been focused on is the need to try to reduce costs. The construction bid came in above our estimate. And so about $4 million, I think, or so above our estimate. And so that pushes the total project cost to $118 million for the tower. And of that, 34.6 million is in FAA costs. And so we have met with them, we've talked about our concerns, and we've talked about our need for additional federal funding. And so we're working both angles. The FAA's response has been, they're confident that they'll be able to help us identify additional funding resources. And so we don't have a commitment of what that dollar value means, but I mean, I anticipate that being anywhere from 4 to 6 million in additional funding. But they also are taking a look at their costs again. And lo and behold, there seems to be about $10 million in savings of their costs that they have indicated that they might be able to pull out of their budget. So until I see it in writing, I'm not going to believe it, but I think it's promising that they have been willing to take a look after Frank, especially has spent, hours with their team saying these costs can't be right. Go back and look. And, their response has been, sorry, this is what it is. But now we're getting some movement of them saying, okay, we'll take another look. So all that to say, there's all kinds of things happening behind the scenes, and hopefully in May we'll come together and we will have received the $40 million. And we will be in a position to award the contract. But the other funding pieces, as Burdetta, we go into Burdetta's office quite frequently and say, okay, like over the next 2 years and our cash flow needs, and just making sure we're thinking about the funding capacity that we have, because we are going to have to cash flow this project and get reimbursed for a good portion of it. Just working through the logistics of that over the next 2 years. But excited to move forward, excited to accept the city $7 million, and we'll continue to look for additional funding.
Just for fun, what are those FAA costs that we're supposed to be paying for?
There's about $17 million in labor costs, which include their design, actually being on site, watching the project being built. The other cost, again, approximately $17 million for equipment. That would be the radar equipment, switch gears, electronic devices, just a whole bunch of equipment.
And I assume we'll have someone on site watching
Absolutely.
over that project as well, so, okay.
There's a lot of people
Standing
watching
around,
this, and
Yeah,
right,
but they wanted to.
very redundant.
yeah,
Technically, our resident people on site will be watching from the ground up, watching everything. Technically, what the FAA people are going to be watching is the installation of their stuff. Will there be some crossover? I'm sure there will be. But
and I'm assuming Flintco has someone that watches everything.
And Plinko, I'm sure will have, a superintendent on site doing the project management for the contractor themselves, yes.
Well, maybe we just do, have a video camera out there so they can
We've talked about
remotely.
it. We've talked about
Glad you mentioned that. I, am talking with 3 companies right now, identifying the cost of having a video camera on the existing tower to look at the construction of the new
Yeah.
tower. I'm also looking at 2 cameras for the FIS to do the same thing.
Mhm.
It is amazing what they can do with cameras now.
Yeah.
Just overlay the drawings onto the actual construction and see if they're ahead of schedule, behind schedule. It's amazing. The cost of that goes up with the more features you want. I was just looking at a time lapse at the end of the project
Yeah,
for posterity, if nothing
Mhm.
else, that we can see how it was built. So we will have a video camera out there. I guess you could say that would be another set of eyes.
I've got extra game camera.
Okay, that'll work. Excellent.
It's cheap.
it. You have to buy the batteries.
Yeah. That's true. Yes.
It,
All right, so we need to approve, or make a motion on number 9.
motion on item 9.
I, move approval for item number 9.
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Item 10,
Item 10 is approve agreement for landscaping between TAIT and the Oklahoma Department of Transportation. The new entrance monument we're building, portion of that landscape is on ODOT right of way. And this is just a document stating that we will maintain that right of way landscape. Management recommend approval of item 10.
our portion of it, not the whole.
Well, we will take care of all of the landscape, but specifically, we will make sure that we take care of the portion on ODOT property. So,
Which we have been for
We have been,
decades.
yes,
Yes,
Okay.
they just want this formal document
Yeah.
now.
Move approval number 10.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Item 11,
Item 11 is accept bids and approve award of contract for wayfinding implementation phase 1 curbside signage project to Timberlake Construction Company Incorporated in the amount of $168,798.05. This contract provides funding to remove and replace and improve all of the signs along the roadways of the upper and lower or arrival and departure roadways of TUL. We received 2 bids. The second bid was $274,200. The engineer's estimate was just over $492,000. This goes along with the wayfinding master plan that was approved 1.5 years, 2 years ago. Now that that plan is complete, we're taking chunks of different signs throughout the entire terminal complex. The signs in the parking garage, the roadway, and in the terminal itself will be removed and replaced. They will all look the same. They'll all have the same fonts, the same colors, different groups of signs. Will have all the same colors and fonts and so forth. It's gonna look a whole lot better than kind of the years of changing this group over here, but not changing somewhere else. But this is the first phase of the project. Management recommend approval of item 11.
is there a reason the engineers missed it by that much? It's
I'm-
almost double.
I wish I could tell you why that is. We had a talk with the engineer and they were saying that that is what they anticipated the price to be. They said the expedited construction of this is going to increase the cost. We told the contractor, part of the specification stated that the project shall be complete by the end of June, with a notice to proceed being the 15th of April. Apparently, this contractor has no problem with that. So I do not have a good answer for that question.
That kind of a miss could cause us to delay or not do something.
On the engineers.
Yeah.
No, we did contact the contractor and said, are you sure on this price? We looked at the pricing of the bid tabulation where they were real low in some areas. Did you include this? Did you include that? They said they did, they had it covered, everything was fine. So we also have a bid bond. So if they choose not to do it now, if you approve this, it'll be a performance bond. If they choose not to do it, the project, we will still only pay this amount and the bonding company will pick up the remainder. So
All right,
Move approval, item 11.
Second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Item number 12.
item 12 is approved change order number 5 with Third Generation Electric Incorporated in amount of $2,016.40 for the parking garage level 1 EV charging station project. This change compensates the contractor for some additional IT equipment needed for the project. So far, we're at a negative 1.6% change orders on this project. Management recommend approval of item 12.
Motion,
Move approval item 12.
Second.
all those in favor of 12.
Aye.
Item 13,
Item 13 is approved change order number 1 with Flinco LLC in the amount of negative $81,447 for the Customs General Aviation and Federal Inspection Services Facility project. This change reduces the cost of transformers by replacing the copper winding with aluminum winding. There is some obvious savings in costs. There's savings in time because aluminum is a little bit easier to get a hold of than copper. And I believe with the aluminum windings, the transformers will stay cooler. Management would recommend approval of item 13.
Yeah.
any
You're gonna
questions?
give us a lesson? Copper versus aluminum. Aluminum is acceptable and.
Yes,
It's a good
yes,
alternative.
aluminum is acceptable. The difference between aluminum and copper, of course, copper conducts better than aluminum. So you combat that by increasing the size of the conductor. So aluminum conductor is going to be a little bit larger than that of the copper. But there again, I believe, like I said, the aluminum winding will remain cooler than copper. There are regulations that you have to follow to upsize to aluminum. It is safe. And in this day and age, like I said, aluminum is easier to get a hold of than copper. We don't have the lead time
Yeah.
and the delay in obtaining the transformers themselves.
Does this comply with the FAA requirements of the planning and so forth?
The FAA requirements will not identify, you have to use this transformer or this material. As long as it is designed and it is designed properly, the FAA will accept it.
Move approval item 19.
Second.
All those in favor?
Say aye.
Aye.
Item 13 is approved.
13.
Number 14,
Item 14 is approved change order number 1 with Diversified Civil Contractors LLC in the amount of $35,487 for the Terminal Entrance Road Pavement Rehabilitation Project. This change provides funding for the contractor to remove 136 trees along the entrance road. This also adds 7 contract calendar days to the contract. This change increases the cost of the project by 2.3%.
do we have 136 trees?
It was amazing once you counted them, how many we had out there. Yes, we do.
used to.
We did, yeah.
Yeah.
So
I'd move approval for 14. It sounds like they're already.
Already gone.
well, so we had to take trees down because we're adding a lane on the
Oh, okay.
left side of the roadway.
Uh,
And then we also had a request from the hotel operator to remove trees that we planted back in 2001 for the US Open that was on their leased property, but continued to be a nuisance because of birds and things that would roost there. And so we took this as an opportunity to get an estimate, and this is such a competitive bid. Frank,
Yeah.
I think it was Frank's team, or maybe it's Eric in our building services department, went and got other quotes, and the next lowest quote was double this
Yeah.
price. And we also are going to get almost $10,000 from the Patels to go towards this cost. So,
All right.
I wasn't worried about, taking the trees out. I was just amazed we had that many trees.
There's a lot.
Yeah.
Okay,
We have a motion and a second.
And second, all those in favor?
aye,
Item 14 is approved. Item 15.
Item 15, approve change order number 1 with Ellsworth Construction LLC in amount of $1,500 for the employee parking lot A expansion project. This is for removal of additional trees along the parking lot. We have 0.3% increase, for this project, for this change order. Management recommend approval of item 15.
So we had more than 130.
Yes.
Have any
move
questions?
approval,
Move.
item 15.
Second,
All those in favor of item 15?
so the tree people are okay with this too, right?
That's approved. Item 16.
Item 16 has no trees, but it is bronze oak, so, accept project approved final payment to Bronze Oak LLC in amount of $20,000 for the functional needs area project. This project closed out at 8.2% above the bid price. Total cost of the project closed out at $630,459.77. Management recommend approval of item 16.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor of 16?
Aye.
16 is approved. Item 17.
so item 17 is to approve a commercial real estate listing agreement and auction service agreement with Williams and Williams. This is for hangar B68 at Tulsa Riverside Airport. And so as soon as this gets approved, they'll begin their marketing efforts and list it. And we'll of course share that information with our tenants so that they're aware of this opportunity.
Move approval, item 17.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, contracts and concessions, TIA. Item 18.
I think we'd like to withdraw item 18.
Riverside, items 19 through 27.
So these are just standard approvals of tenant agreements at Riverside Airport. Any hangar inspections needed have been conducted, and we're asking for your approval of these items.
Move approval, items 19 through 27.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
We have no executive session, no new business that I know of,
Nope.
no TAA business. Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor, we're out of here.
Aye.
Aye.
Can we go up?
9:07.